Hello everyone, my name is Varun and today in this video we are going to continue our series of creating a CRUD application. As you already know in my previous video I have created a add user form, right? And adding a user was showing the data in the alert box. So if I try to do it, you can see that adding the form and showing the data on click of the alert. Alright guys, so now in this video we are going to see how we can show this data to this particular listing, right? As you can see right now I have created a user list component and in this user list component I have hard coded the data in my table. Alright, so in order to have this functionality you can see that in manage user component here I have added the alert box. So my strategy would be now that I will send that data to my users component, and from my users component I will be sending that current user to my user list component, and here it will actually show the data. So now let's create a method in users component. So first let's create a state which will be holding all the users that I am adding. So it will be users and then set users is equal to use state, and it is going to be a array, right? So right now it is going to be a blank array and it is giving me the error that use state is not defined. So let me define the use state over there. Import use state from React. All right guys, so use state is defined, and as I have mentioned that how can I pass data from this component to my previous component, right? So for here, what I can do is I can pass the data via thing called props. So let's assume that I'm going to use add user. So what does it mean is that I can pass this add user from here via a prop like this. Add user is equal to add user. Alright, now it is giving the error that add user is not available. So let's create const add user as a new method. All right, and in this we will be sending the user obj, and here if you want to see, let me console log user obj. Okay, and in manage user let's remove this alert box and instead let's call this method called add user, and in add user I will be passing the user object. All right, now user object is being passed. It will directly call this this add user method. Once this method is called, it will console log the current user over there. So let's see this in action. I am in my console, right? And here varun@gmail.com, Varun, this is bio, right? And now clicking on add user. So guys, you can see that it is console logged the current users. You can see that users.js and line number is 8. All right, now what we need to do is we need to add this user object into this user state. All right, so for here what we are going to do is we are going to use set users, and here we will be maintaining the array, and we want to add the current user at the top. So I will use user obj and then all the existing users. That's it. So this way my users array is populated. So if you want to see that what is the content in my users state, let's have a console and let me refresh it and let me add some data. So you can see at first it will not show anything because use state set state is always asynchronous, and sometimes it also perform batch processes, batch operations. All right, guys. So now you can see that this data is available, right? Okay, now our main task is that we want to send this data to our user list. So let me close it. I want to show this added user in my listing. So how can I do that? For that, what I will do is I will pass this user to this component via a state. So let's create users is equal to users. And here I will access this user as user. All right, guys. So users array is available to me. And here what we can do is we will be creating the body of our code at the top, right? So for that, what we can do is let's create const user list equal to users.map. We use map function to create to loop through all the users and user and then index. All right, guys. Okay. Now what I can do is I can add return statement, and here I will actually use table row and this complete table row, and here I will be using, let's say, index. All right, and then here I will be using user.email. Let me copy it, and then user.name, and then user.bio. All right, let me close it now. So now my current data will be stored here, and we are returning it. So what we need to do now is that we just need to replace this with our user list component. Okay, guys. So far what we have done is whenever users data is there, it will map through the data and it will be creating each row for each user. And here I am using index, right? And this also requires me to provide key to this. This is from the like React needs to know that what each row is, how to identify each rows. So React uses this key for that purpose. All right, guys. So now let's see this thing in action. And Varun, Varun, Varun here and add. All right, guys. So you can see that it is showing email, name, and bio. That's really good. We have achieved it, but one thing is that it is showing me zero index, right? So let me change it to +1. So now it has changed it to +1. Apart from that, I think we should also add a code for handling the things, right? Okay, and here instead of bio I will be creating a button with class name as button and button primary. All right, and here I will use update user. All right, guys, so you can see that update user is here. Similarly, we can create another button for delete user, and let's make it button danger so that it is in red color, right? And yes, so now guys, you can see that these functionalities are done, and let's now move on to the next step. So guys, I can see that here I have made a mistake of repeating the same columns again. Okay, so let me remove this table head from here and let me self close it, and instead let's also pass another column called operations. All right, I have created a operations column just to mention that is it going to be a update operation or a deletion operation. Okay, so I was just wondering that why are we hard coding our data over here like this, right? So what we can do is we can pass these columns from a previous component, right? So what I can actually do is that I can pass the columns as, let's say, calls is equal to hash email, name, bio, operations. All right. So I have created the columns, and here I can pass the calls as this way. Now, as I have passed these columns, these will be available here like this. So now what I can do is I will be following the similar pattern. Let me copy it and let me use it over there. And instead of TD, I will be using TH, and I think that is also required, but these buttons are not required, and here I will, okay, actually I don't require all these. I just need TH. Okay, and inside this TH I just need call name, and here I will use calls and then, sorry, call name, and here I can use my key as ID. Also, the scope will be call, and let me also remake it with print calls, so it will just be printing the columns. Okay guys, enough of the work is done, and now let me write print calls. Okay, it is saying that table head ID is not defined. Okay, because I am using index, right? Okay guys, so now what we have done is we have made our columns quite dynamic, and instead of now hard coding the values for the columns, I'm just generating my columns by passing it to my array, right? So if we try it now and press it to add user, so you can see that user is added. So this is the beautiful UI you can see. Yeah, it's not beautiful, but yeah, it is manageable kind of UI. All right guys, our one task is done. Now the next task we can do in this video is deleting the user. So guys, we are doing delete user first, then the update user, because it will not take much time. And for update user, I will be creating another video because it requires more time to explain, and I don't want the video to go lengthy. Okay, so you can see that. Let me go to my users table, and here we have users list, and you can see here I am creating these two buttons, delete user and update user. So let me remove users to make it more precise. All right, and let's now define a method over here. So here my strategy would be clicking on a delete button will call a method which will be passed to my parent, that is users table, and from here what I will do is I will be deleting the user, updating the state, and it will automatically reload my user list component automatically because I am already using the user state over there as a props, right? So let's create a on click handler here, on click, and here I will say delete user, and I will be passing the identifier that is index. One more thing guys, here for the key I am using index, but in reality we should use nano ID for unique values for the keys. Okay, now let's define this delete user, as a property. And what we are going to do now is we are going to pass this property from here, and now it is saying that it is not defined, so let's define this method. And here I will get ID. All right, delete user. Okay, so as of now we have done a bare minimum stuff. Just clicking on the delete button will call this delete user method, and we are passing ID to make sure that which user do we need to delete, right? So now for deletion also, we are going to use a very simple logic. What we are going to do is we are going to create, as you guys know that in React, state is always immutable, right? We can't directly make changes in our state. So in order to delete the user, what I will do is I will loop through all my users array, all of my users array, and I will exclude this particular ID. So once it is done, what it will do is it will return me all the users except this user, this current selected user, right? And then we will use that new array and set our users state. So for that, let's create const new users as my new array, and I will be using filter method here, filter with underscore, because I am not going to use this value. So it is just a basic convention. And here I am saying that if index is not equal to ID, only then copy the value in the new users, right? So now I have all the users except the currently deleted users. And then what I can do is I can call set users with new users. That's it. Now let me reload my page and let's try it out. Varun at gmail.com. Varun, this is Varun. And here it will add the data. Let me add another Varun. Varun here. This is Varun. Where at gmail.com. Guys, I haven't added any validations at this moment in this application. So I'm trying to keep things very simple. All right. So now let's add another Varun. Okay. So now we have two records in my listing, and let's click on delete. Wow. So guys, you can see that clicking on the delete button has deleted the user, and now I am left with one user only. Also, I must say that it is not a good practice to directly delete the user, as I have mentioned in one of my previous video also, that there should be a confirmation that are you sure that you want to delete this user, and only delete that user if we are confirming that yes, you can delete this user. I hope that you have got the idea what I am trying to say here. All right, guys. Uh, I think that's all from my side for this video. In this video, we have learned two things. We have done two things. One is showing the listing of my current user that I have added. Once the user is added, we will be giving them two options. That is to update that existing user, right? And another one is to delete that user. And in this video, we also learned that how to delete that particular user. And for managing this, we have a users component which is acting as my container component, which carries whole of all of the business logic. Alright guys, I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and if you feel that it has added few things in your skill set, then do like, share and subscribe to this video. And if you have any queries, do let me know in the comment section. Thank you guys. Bye bye.